think back to the first BCSC just 5 years ago, we have to be honest that the challenges have grown.
We are at a pivotal moment. The intersection of climate change, peace and security presents us with challenges but also opportunities, a chance to rethink our approaches, to forge new pathways for dialogue, for cooperation and importantly for action.
BCSC is a way of building synergies because it allows people from all over the world and from very different sectors and very different backgrounds and representing very different constituencies to meet, to talk to each other, to try to learn from other contexts.
As we embark on this journey today, the conference structure will take you through the conflict cycle, which we affectionately call the Peace-Kagel, or the peace snail, or the Friedensschnecke, if you prefer. Starting from instability that climate change can exacerbate, where the entry points will be diplomacy or prevention or better conflict analysis, through the challenges of ending conflict and getting to peace through mediation and political settlements and peacemaking efforts, through to establishing stability and peace building, and ultimately the vital task of post-conflict reconstruction, rebuilding peaceful societies in the aftermath of war.
The first panel is really where we begin in that first stage of conflict cycle of instability to discuss how to prevent instability through climate security risk-informed planning.
Climate change is this generation's atomic bomb, right? It is an existential threat, except that it's much more serious than the atomic bomb. And it is a threat that is comprehensive, that attacks the world and humanity in different forms, but every day, in different ways. But this is the first time in the history of humanity that every nation face a common enemy.
Climate change, as we, I think, in this room can accept and know, it poses an increasing challenge to peace, to conflict prevention, to mediation, and then also the sustainability of the hard-won outcomes of when peace is actually reached.
Since we cannot make climate issues to stop at borders, then we have to use that as an opportunity. And IGAD is taking the lead in convincing the member states that this is an issue, number one, which is very serious. Number two, no one country can deal with it alone. Therefore, we use this as an opportunity to work together on these issues, from the mediation side, from the diplomacy side, from the coordination and collaboration side.
It's very important when it comes to dialogue on peace, on climate, to have different groups attending the dialogue and coming to this dialogue from human rights perspective. And I do believe that civil society, women, youth need to have their say, and they also need to, in a way, push the governments so that they act and do not lose time.
The driver of humanitarian need that comes from conflict is now being exacerbated by the driver of humanitarian need that comes from the climate crisis.
I would like to see some fruit bearing from that integration. This means that the government, UN, including the UN country team and armies like peacekeeping mission, and also NGOs, so that we can actually come up with a practical solution which can actually protect the civilians and then makes the lives better in South Sudan.
We need to begin to bring more regularly the tools of the climate community, the data, as you mentioned earlier, and the traditional tools of peace building together to find solutions.
We're really at a critical juncture where we are seeing the imperatives of peace and peace building really intersecting with the need to build long-term climate resilience. Notably so, this is true when we are navigating the complex challenge of rebuilding societies that are emerging from conflict. And this is facing the added complexity of a changing climate.
We know that it really takes infrastructure, both institutional and physical infrastructure, in order to rebuild or to really build a nation together.
We have to be able to design institutions that are inherently agile, because institutions by their very design are not agile. And when you're talking about problems like climate change and other shifting security impacts associated with it, those are evolving all the time. And so we need institutions that are able to adapt to that.
And one of the things I think is really heartening about this BCSC is that the conversation doesn't stop here. Some of these very tangible and concrete outcomes and action points that have emerged in these discussions, I can see really grounding some of the action points that will lead us through to COP30 in Brazil.